Hi everyone, this is Sean from Time and Talk. I wanted to make a video about the Tudor Black Bay 58, the new blue version, and this works for the old one as well. But I wanted to suggest 10 alternatives to this watch. You might not like the watch, but you might like the idea of a kind of vintage inspired dive watch. You might prefer something in another size, or you just might want some other ideas. So I thought this would make an interesting video. I haven't stuck too much to the rules of having it the same size and the same colour and things like that, but I thought vintage inspired, a little bit kind of luxurious in its feel, and see what you think of my 10. So first of all, we've got the Doxa Sub 200. This is a watch that was re-released, as far as I'm aware, not so long ago, and it's based upon a dive watch from 1967, which according to what I've read was the first truly mainstream diver. It's really nice looking, it's quite minimalist in its appearance, it's 42mm, so just bear that in mind, and there's also a bunch of different colours that you can choose if you like a more colourful watch. There's a yellow, there's an orange, etc. Then you've got the YAMMER Super Mum. This is a great watch. I've covered this in a video before on French watches, really obsessed with French culture and things like that. But this watch is good because it comes in a couple of different sizes. You can get 39 and I think you can get 41 or 42. It's a vintage inspired traditional dive watch, if you like, and it's got a really interesting bezel locking mechanism that makes it a bit different to some other options that you might choose. Then the Squale 1521. This is another 42mm watch, and I think it's a really good choice because it's funky looking, it's interesting, but Squale used to make cases for a bunch of different dive watch manufacturers in the 60s and around about that time, and it's still got that kind of vintage feel, despite the fact that this too is also 42mm. I'd love one of these watches. I just think that the price can be a little bit high for what they are, but I think they're worth it. I just think that sometimes I feel reluctant when I think about pulling the trigger. One of my favourite watches at the moment is the Seiko SB147J. This is essentially a reissue or a reimagining, if you like, of the 62 mass, and it comes in different colours. You can get it on a bracelet as well, but I like this one, the gilt one, which comes on a rubber strap. It looks vintage inspired. It looks really warm and cool with the kind of gold coloured gilt accents, but as well, unlike most Seiko divers, it's 40mm, so it has that vintage sizing as well, and it works for me as someone with a smaller wrist. Another watch that I absolutely love is the Lipnautic ski. I remember the first time I saw this watch, and it was in a museum in Paris, and it was for sale in the museum shop, and I thought, that is so cool. And I didn't really know anything about the brand Lip, but Lip are proudly French, and this is based upon a 60s dive watch, and it's basically a faithful reproduction, discounting obviously modernizations and changes to the movement and things like that. But it's 38mm, so it's a genuine vintage size, and it will feel like, I guess, more like a vintage watch on your wrist. Again, there's a bunch of colorways and things like that. Check them out on their website. I love this one on the screen. I think it's my favorite. I think it's just a really nice looking watch. It's very, very cool. Then perhaps a strange choice actually, and I would probably go a bit more vintage than this, but this has been around since the 90s, the Seamaster. And the mid-size in particular, it's just a really nice watch. And for me, from this list, it's maybe got the closest feel to the Tudor. You know, it's a luxury dive watch. It's something that you can feel proud of wearing. It's a piece of jewelry in essence as well, but it's also capable as a tool watch. And it just looks really cool. I mean, the Omega bracelet is fantastic. I've owned one of these, but it wasn't the mid-size version. And it's just a lovely looking watch, and I think if you're in the market for a kind of smaller dive watch, this and the Tudor might be the best ones you can get, really. Then the Rado Captain Cook. This is another one that comes in various sizes. So they released a 37mm edition, which was based upon a 1962 edition of this watch. And I think this was released at the same time, and it was 45mm. And then a couple of years ago, they re-released it in 42. And again, you can get blue, you can get black. This is my favorite, which I think is a limited edition, but it's 37mm. It does look small when I see it on people's wrist, but it's just such a cool watch. I mean, look at the picture; it's brilliant. Then you've got the Longines Heritage Skin Diver. This is 42mm, so it's probably a little bit oversized for a vintage-inspired watch. But this was a tribute to Longines' first ever dive watch, which was called the Nautilus Skin Diver. Again, quite a minimalist piece with a tropic style strap and Arabic numerals, but just a really cool watch. And if you've got that larger wrist, the 42mm diameter, I don't think will bother you that much. I think this would probably be too big for my wrist. Then the Certina DSPH 200 meters. Again, this is based upon a Certina watch from 1967, which is faithful to the original but with some modifications. I imagine the sizing is one of those modifications, as this one is 43mm. But again, a relatively subdued and simple 1960s vintage inspired dive watch. Probably more suitable for someone with a larger wrist, but again, it's a really handsome piece. Obviously, Certina is from the Swatch Group, so you're getting some know-how from that company in this watch. And last but not least is the Auris Divers 65. I think this is maybe my favourite watch on the list. One of the reasons why, well, perhaps the only reason why I haven't bought this is because of lack of funds, really, because it's such a fun watch. It's got so much character. It's so alike the original version, and also it looks like it wears so daintily, which I really like. You know, it looks like a vintage watch to me. It's 40mm, and it's just a great watch. Okay, so that's my list of 10 alternatives to the Black Bay 58 Blue. Tell me if you can think of any others, if I should add any to my list. Which one was your favourite out of the list? And if you like my channel, please subscribe, and thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.